Staniszewski, and this is America Period. I'm here with Mark Kennison, candidate for mayor of the city of Washington in Pennsylvania. And we're here at President's Pub. Very awesome. Thank you very much for inviting us to one of your many businesses here in the city of Washington. It's great to see you, my friend.
Yes, sir, Matt. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So let's just get right to this, man.
Right.
You were registered as a Republican. You switched over to be an independent, and now you're running for mayor.
Yes, sir.
In my travels, going door to door and helping some other candidates, obviously some things came up regarding, well, why did Mark, switch parties, and why is he running for mayor?
Yeah. So knocking doors, getting signatures for the ballot did come up a lot because people, just generally wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's easy. I'm not a politician. You know that.
Absolutely.
I'm a concerned citizen, born and raised. This is my hometown. So it didn't feel right to represent a party. That's not the campaign or the platform. Mm-hmm. It's to represent every citizen in the city of Washington, and as an independent was my best way to connect everybody individually.
Good. Now, with this switch, sometimes when candidates do switch parties, it can be very positive, and it could be negative. How do you think this is going to impact your campaign? Either way, why or why not?
Sure. Personally, I think it's a benefit. Remaining neutral, it's been much easier to have conversations that, even though they're not related to a party decision, it's just an affiliation, and people, too quickly label and presume that you have certain stances that may not be true. Mm-hmm. But to eliminate that as an independent, knowing that the city of Washington is really my only concern. There is no look at further down the road or next steps as a politician or my stance on this or legislation. Mm-hmm. That's not what local government's about. It's supporting the quality of life of the residents in a hometown that means a great deal to me.
And you're born and raised here in Washington County, actually not too far from here.
No, not at all. And that's, 14 years ago, I opened my first business on Main Street, and that's really when my heart to restore my hometown really just took life. And it made a great impact with my customers and the residents, and that's always been on my heart. But rebuilding a flourishing Main Street is like my business platform. That's what I did for a livelihood, and that's a niche that I do very well at. And I've opened several businesses, 7 in the last 14 years.
Wow, 7?
7. So
I wasn't even aware it was that many. Okay.
Yeah, 7 businesses the last 14 years. But my overall goal is not just Main Street.
Okay.
It's really about making Washington a great place to call home. And that involves improving every neighborhood, every park, every playground, including a flourishing downtown that we all can enjoy.
Sure. And so how do you plan on really going about encouraging these types of changes really for the betterment of Washington? And how do you intend to work with those that have been in power for a long time and convincing them about your vision?
Sure, yeah, it's been, I think people have that opinion of Washington that it's just been stagnant for a long time. Mm-hmm. Not that there's not a lot of people that believe in it, not a lot of great volunteers, community leaders, but overall there's just seems to be a disconnect between local government and pushing initiative forward and the pace that we need to move, or that people expect us to move. Mm-hmm. They want to know why recovery's not happening, at a faster rate. And, for people that have called this home for decades and beyond,
mm-hmm.
They've seen growing up in a great city, and they've watched it decline year after year, and they wonder, why is it taking so long for us to bounce back? So I think to offset that old way of doing things, it's really, for me, it's about connecting the local government with the community leaders that are actively making a positive change in our community.
Good.
So I think that's where we need, from a mayor and from a local government, more directly supporting these and getting involved in these individual efforts is extremely important.
Yes.
A lot of people just feel like, they get a pat in the back when the job's done, but maybe there's not as much hand-in-hand work with the local government and these great initiatives that happen throughout the city. So supporting specifically, but I think another disconnect from local government, and maybe something that it could do from a different stance than an individual would, is use the mayoral seat, use the council, use the influence and the network to bring all these individual community leaders and really bring them to a round table to make sure we're supporting each other individually, but also connecting as a whole, like unifying under a plan that we believe in and working together. And I think myself in a mayor position would be able to quarterback bringing these folks together so we're on the same page and we're working efficiently and we're going to work till the job's done.
No, and obviously having businesses here in the downtown area, and obviously the work you've done with the Dreamers and some other organizations in the neighborhoods, obviously blight and absentee landlords, it's a huge problem, and it's not unique, obviously, as you know, to the city of Washington. That's something that plagues communities across all of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
So, what do you look at in terms of what are your plans to, further combat that blight? Because obviously, when we have blight, when we have vacant buildings, that attracts other elements, whether it's drugs, prostitution, sadly overdoses and so forth, and decreasing that quality of life in those neighborhoods and the viability of the business district. So what are your plans to further enhance those types of efforts?
I think firstly it comes down to code enforcement. I think there's been a strong lack thereof for an extended period of time, and that needs to come leadership from mayor down to code enforcement of an expectation, like a standard. I think we've let the standard of Washington across the board drop to a level that it's not serving the people as well as it should. So strengthening our code enforcement is certainly a priority. And as you mentioned, like quality of life and protecting the city and the neighborhoods and the blight and crime and drugs.
Right.
We need the best first responders. So directly working to supporting and multiplying the efforts of our police, fire, EMT, however that may be, whether it's fundraising, whether it's further grant efforts with working with other municipalities to like work together as a 15301 Washington, not just individually.
Right.
Growing that partnership through our first responders makes it a safer and a more livable city, and I think that all the taxpayers deserve that.
Sure, and you've been an advocate for years. I know over at 19 North you've done a number of fundraisers for our first responders, so thank you very much for that. I'm sure they definitely appreciate it as well.
For sure.
Yes. And looking at building the tax base, as you know, once again, as an entrepreneur, Washington has many small businesses, but there are still plenty of empty storefronts. So when we start talking about economic development, what would you do, or what do you plan to do differently as opposed to the norm that the Washington has been doing for years now?
Sure. Yeah, unfortunately we are a bit of a revolving door. As you said, we have seen new businesses open, but we've seen just as many close.
Right.
And for me, I understand how difficult it is to be an owner on Main Street and Washington in general. So from a business standpoint, the empty storefronts, I think from experience, there could be a better plan, a welcome to Washington packet, a comprehensive guide for if you're interested in Washington, you have a business idea, you have a plan, you have an initiative, you have a nonprofit, but how do I get started? Why should I make Washington a home base? And I think connecting with the right resources, the right people, a step-by-step guide, someone like Shana Brown, along with the mayor to walk them through the downtown and through the areas, show them the storefronts.
Sure.
Really act like we want their business, because there's a lot of other great areas in Washington County that they could pick, and we'd like them to pick Washington City to call it home.
You're right. I mean, in terms of competition, we have plenty of municipalities. We're surrounded by 66, 67. The number fluctuates depending upon who merges, but you're right. We're competing with that, let alone other counties that might have other programs to attract those businesses. And one thing that I've always found is, the more that the local government, the mayor, along with those types of organizations, like you mentioned, the Washington Business District Authority, showing that you really do care and bring those to get those businesses here. I do think that speaks volume as we start taking a look at economic development. So I do applaud that perspective and initiative.
One thing, and to give credit to, I know it's been Tyler's effort, to our local council mayor prior to this, and working with the county and economic development, redevelopment authority. One advantage we have is a lot of these buildings that were dilapidated have come down, which has created new opportunity. The challenge still is they're in Washington. So we don't have developers knocking on our door.
Correct.
But we have opportunity for developers that they may not realize. So a welcome to Washington for business owners is great. But we have a lot of space to develop that would directly increase the tax base. But we can't just sit on it. We can't just tear a building down and put a for sale sign up.
Right.
Really taking these opportunities individually, site by site specifically, work with engineers and architects to get 3D working models of what it could be. We have a plan for tax abatement from the local government. We are working with the state and the county on development funds that they may not realize are available in the city of Washington. And then for each one, I like to call it like put a bow on each opportunity in the city of Washington. So these empty lots, as soon as they come down and they're cleared, we have a plan to present to a developer, and we get aggressive about bringing people back downtown.
I love that. That was one thing, obviously being on council for 3 terms was something that I always was a proponent of in terms of, okay, if we're going to knock these buildings down, we should have a plan in place and start really attracting those developers or those business owners before the building even comes down. So taking that proactive approach, I definitely agree and think that's a good idea.
For sure. And honestly, one thing we really lack is disposable income downtown. So we want more businesses, but we need people living here to support them. This is the first time with some of the land we've acquired to actually put them all together where we do some new residential and we balance out the small business desire, but people living downtown to support those small businesses. And I think that would greatly enhance the desire to be downtown.
Sure.
And then secure the businesses that, thankfully are still here.
Yes. Yeah, and speaking of which, creating that quality of life and attracting people to have that discretionary income. As an entrepreneur, you've created a lot of jobs across 7 businesses, which is very cool. Obviously workforce development, job creation is very important, especially as we seek to get those good paying jobs and bring those families in. How do you plan to really scale job creation, particularly beyond the borders of your businesses, and scale that up throughout the business district in its entirety?
Sure. One, we need to be just more business friendly. Jobs come from businesses.
Right.
We can create jobs not by just bringing new businesses, but we can expand the ones that are here. A lot of that can be done by, even just down to the condition of the city, the cleanliness, the code enforcement, the zoning, the effectiveness of ordinances. If there's no loitering and no smoking, those need enforced.
Correct.
If there's no police presence to ever walk the beat downtown, where is the local government's oversight of the business district? If, the challenge of being so predominantly a very high margin of recovery homes in the business district.
Right.
Everyone deserves recovery. I'm 100% for second, third, fourth, fifth chances. We'll never give up. But there has to be a plan to make the city, the business district, business friendly. We make sure the institutions that are going beside complement each other. So a lot of it comes down to, we've had a lot of lack of planning, and any landlord can just take any business and just take $500 a month and that's there. But what it has done is it's discouraged the customers to the left and to the right based on the type of business.
Sure.
So making Washington more business friendly by design to actually plan what Washington needs. For instance, in 2012, the reason why I opened, which is now Chico Bocello, wonderful establishment.
Yes, it is.
Our only coffee shop closed. So I wasn't passionate about coffee. It was a matter of our downtown needs another coffee shop. It needs bakeries. There's just certain businesses that make a downtown complete. We need a plan of what a complete downtown looks like, so we're attracting the right businesses, because location's everything. So
exactly.
If we want more jobs, we need businesses that can exceed and grow. And as they grow, and I think that's one thing I bring to the table. Been a lot of contractors in the mayor,
Sure,
council
yes.
and mayor seat, and we're under constant repair, so that's a positive thing to have that relationship. But we struggle retaining businesses. So someone that's been a business owner for most of my life, bringing that type of experience to the mayor's seat can really round out, and much respect for everyone there.
Right.
But I think an entrepreneur being a part of the council could be a more dynamic system to really move the system the city forward on multiple fronts.
Sure, because you understand obviously the needs on that side as an entrepreneur.
For sure.
So, and again, obviously working with the dreamers, understanding the needs also obviously within the neighborhoods as well. So,
absolutely.
Love it, love it. And speaking of which, the dreamers, you've done a lot of projects in the city already. 7th Ward Playground, Park and Dewey come to mind. Before we start the interview, you mentioned a very exciting project. If you could tell us a little bit about that with the fair funds.
Sure. On the 500 block of Jefferson, we had an opportunity to, with the help of Redevelopment Authority, the opportunity to acquire a dilapidated building, which in its heyday, a beautiful home. But as renters over the years, absentee landlord situation, now it's the eyesore of the block. Through fair funding, we were able to fund the rehabilitation in partnership with Blueprints,
Nice.
who works directly with the home buyer. So instead of a renter situation, we find a family that needs that size of home to support their family, but maybe they couldn't afford it or they don't have the credit for it. So through this program, Blueprints does counseling,
Right.
and they help get their credit. They help present their financials to a bank so they can get approved. And through the fair funding, we're able to sell the house below market value. So now there's equity already available for the homeowner, but also it allows the bank to have an additional layer of security. So it gets us from an empty, dilapidated building to a homeowner who's going to take pride. We had the closing date, and we have the homeowner, new family, who's already there painting and preparing to
Awesome.
create a renter situation into a home. And that's what we want to make every block, every neighborhood in Washington feel more like home.
That is fantastic to hear. Having that pathway to home ownership, you're really building that generational wealth for individuals and families. So that's awesome to hear that some of these buildings that like you mentioned, either vacant, blighted, or again, and there's nothing wrong with rentals, obviously, but to have that home ownership just speaks so many volumes to so many people. So.
Yeah, we're just disproportionate in the amount of renters to homeowners.
Right.
And a lot of the renters, even if they're good renters, they also don't have as I said, an absentee landlord, someone that doesn't care, maintain that, to keep that house looking like a home. So as they don't keep up with the repairs, the renter's in a situation where, why is it landscaping when my roof leaks? So that's one thing with Dreamers going, we have a block by block initiative where the landscaping, the parks, the playgrounds, like every year volunteers go through it to really revitalize the neighborhoods. Because as much as I'm passionate downtown, people spend most of their time at home.
Yes.
So if you want to know where my heart's at, it's in the neighborhoods, the parks, the playgrounds, and a lot of great volunteer work has been done, but the city can come back through. Instead of, for a lot of nonprofits, we do city cleanups and just a lot of great initiatives.
Yes.
But sometimes, year after year, we're doing the same thing.
Okay.
Because the inconsistency is, the lack of fault of the holes in the local government and maybe just the oversight of all the nooks and crannies of Washington. Easy to do because there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of moving pieces
For sure.
down at City Hall. Yes.
But it would be nice if that was more of a partnership where the local government was working with a nonprofit. So every year we're building, we're not redoing and maintaining.
Right.
Washington is not in a position to maintain. We deserve drastic growth, and I think that's something I can really bring to the table.
Awesome. And speaking, going back to your experience as an entrepreneur, Mark, you wear a lot of hats, dude. Even us getting this interview took some time, which again, I appreciate you taking your time today. How are you going to balance, obviously the needs of all your businesses with the duties and the job of mayor? How are you going to balance all that?
Sure. Two ways. One, fortunately, a mayor is a very 9-to-5 position at daytime. All my businesses operate nights and weekends.
Right.
So, not that there's a lot of free time and not admin work during the day.
Sure.
But the actual specific requirements where I can best manage my time to give my daytime job, my full-time effort to the city of Washington. Nights and weekends, and I work that hard and I don't mind the hours. This is on my heart, it's a mission, it needs done, and I want to be a part of the change that Washington needs. So one, I'll make the time, and my current situation is where I'm able to devote the daytime hours, the office hours, where people need to interact with the local government, where the meetings are, like I'll be there, and I can balance that out. And secondly, my plan, and it's COVID, pandemic, set some things back.
Of course.
But what my plan was, and a lot of people are afraid to take the first step in Washington. They're afraid to, I've been a pioneer of a lot of for people like Mark, I don't know about this, including the President's Pub.
Right.
Mark, South Main was nice. Why did you cross the tracks? You're gonna this and that. All the reasons why.
I've heard that too.
For sure.
Yes.
Washington, and it was the same thing when I opened Rachel Rose Coffee House, the Italian market, and we opened a bakery and we sold it to Chica Pacello. Their family, they expanded. They've grown the business. Second location.
Yes.
Amazing success story.
It is. It's a fantastic success
For
story
sure.
here in Washington.
And
yes.
when we talked about it, and it was mutual friend introduced us, and it was, Mark, this is what we've always wanted to do. We were just afraid to take that first step on Main Street. We just didn't think it would work. So you made it work, and you're giving us the opportunity to pick up where you left off. Like, it was a very harmonious transition. And that's
Good.
when I was like, maybe this is a little bit more what I'm purposed for, is not to be running all these businesses. It's to plant the seeds and, again, come up with a plan of, like, what does Washington need to be thriving?
Sure.
And so it's still part of the plan. And as you know, even the President's Pub, it's been for sale. We had buyers lined up, lost during COVID.
Right.
Wasn't a good time to be in the restaurant. And it's still challenging. So even though it's been slow, moving forward, the goal is to still find the right owners, the right people in establishments that I created, so I can focus not just on day-to-day operations, but moving forward the next 3 years, I'm going to be transitioning into more of the development side.
Oh, good.
Where I
Good.
can serve the city as mayor and also help consult businesses downtown, not just run the day-to-day. So it's all been part of the plan, and I think this time around, the timing's lining up where the interest is back. I'll be able to move, take some of those hats and put them on some other worthy
There you
heads.
go. Yes.
And make sure, and then my job then is, as I pass that hat, it's to protect the livelihood and make sure they succeed. That I can do from a mayor's seat. That I can't just do as another local business owner.
Right.
That's the kind of support that I believe that I can transition and offer, even though right now, many hats, but we have a plan in place to move forward and free the time to dedicate to the city.
Right. It sounds like you definitely want to be that resource and really share the success in your business model with other people. Like you mentioned, Chico Pacello, they expanded into even another community while growing the business here, which is fantastic. And one thing I love about that place is you see so many diverse individuals, people I didn't even know lived in the area, and here they are in Washington, enjoying a good cup of coffee, some amazing food, and spending some money.
For sure, and that's a big part of why I'm passionate about cooking and things like that. But these type of businesses, the President's Pub, the Chica Pacellos, the Union Grills, these type of businesses are where people network.
Yes.
It's where I met you. It's where we have conversation on moving the city forward. So if those places don't exist, these conversations, these interviews, they don't happen because there isn't a place where we call a common ground.
Right.
So it has been, and it's so nice to see that the plan that was a plan so long ago has grown to serve the purpose that it was intended to.
You have proven results.
Yeah, thank you.
So, obviously we've touched upon a few things here, Mark. Obviously the business district, the neighborhoods, workforce development, economic development. What else can our viewers and the voters expect from a Kennison administration?
Sure. So there's a lot of needs in the city, and going door to door and talking to homeowners, and they're all very different. They're very unique, very specific to their regions. And one common thing that I've found is their frustration, not the problem. Their frustration lies in, I voice my complaint and I don't feel heard. I can't promise I can fix everything, although I'm going to try.
Right.
But you're going to see a responsive administration that if you have a need, we're going to act like it's important to us just as important it is to you.
Sure.
And I think that's something where the disconnect is they don't feel like necessarily the local government is a part of the community. They don't live in Washington. They just even though they do, it's just the mentality of it's a little out of sight, out of mind as you will go through these different neighborhoods. So if you want someone to take ownership of all the city of Washington, and then that's what our administration is going to do.
Nice. What other challenges do you foresee? Obviously, being a business owner for so long here in the city, you have a lot of experience with different challenges. What do you foresee coming up, within your first year in office?
For sure. as you know, like, we struggle with the tax base, of course.
Yes,
So
yes.
funding is an issue, and bringing in new businesses and development and housing, and that all can work towards increasing the tax base. But that's a slow process, and it's still short of the resources we need for the rate of growth we need at a certain time.
Sure.
So I think one thing we've lacked, and a challenge that I've personally seen for as long as I've been here, is we're the county seat, but we don't have the relationship with a county who has the resources, has the connections, has that bridge to state. That relationship needs repaired. And I think another thing that I do bring to the table is a good working relationship with Larry Madge and Nick Sherman, who are in office. And I've met with Electra and Cindy, and there's a lot of things we all agree on. And one thing that I'm going to insist on is that the city of Washington gets the attention from the county that it deserves. The resources are appropriately shared. We don't want more than our fair share. We just want our fair share. We want our time. We want a commitment from the county that the county seat is going to be restored because the people of Washington deserve it.
You know, and you mentioned, you know, obviously growing the tax base. One of our biggest property owners, W&J College. You're a graduate from W&J College. How do you intend to, you know, utilize that relationship with the college? You know, maybe attracting students up here more often. I know you do some special events here at President's Pub for students. What else? How would you like to enhance that relationship with W&J?
Well, you said it pretty well, and that's the missing piece of that puzzle is relationship. So for the last two presidents of the college, I've met with them more than the mayor has met with them on an individual point.
Really?
So
wow.
For me, it is the relationship. It's the olive branch. It's
yes.
Everything works if we work together. So the amount of time we invest in something, you know, water the seeds we plant, it's spending time and making sure that the city of Washington always has an open hand, an open door, and expect the same return from the college. The college has funds, it has grants, it has funding, it has a direct invested interest in how the downtown and the city of Washington is in general.
Yes, yes.
They're not just going to write a check. They're not just going to start paying taxes. But they will put direct funds if you give them a plan. And even better, if you make them a part of the plan, a part of the system, we can grow as a college town, and then those resources the college has, open doors, will share with the city, and now we start to rebuild.
And I can relate, you know, when I was the director of the Public Works Bureau here, when I was on council, partnered with W&J, we actually split the cost of paving some roads. It was a win-win for all of us, you know. So, and it helped benefit also the business district. So I agree, you know, establishing and strengthening that relationship, because you're right, they have tons of resources available, not only monetary, but you know, they have a great staff, great faculty. As you know, you graduated from there. I worked there for a while under a Department of Defense contract, so a great institution altogether.
Sure.
So, and they can be a great neighbor. So it's great to, you know, again, being that you graduated from there, to have that type of relationship. It surprises me that you've been with the presidents more than the mayor. Really?
Yeah, it's a surprise to them.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, conversations I've had, because I'm constantly setting meetings. I want to know their plans. When Dr. Knapp first came to the college, first thing I did was reach out to him, or the former president said, this is someone that you should connect with.
Good.
He was one, he took a tour with me. We walked through every one of my buildings.
Awesome.
We talked about future plans. I talked about the President's Pub.
Yep.
He talked about his plans for the college and how important. He said, Mark, it could be 1 out of 4 students we lose on the tour of the downtown. So if you don't think that the condition and that we're not willing to put up what we should, our fair share, to make sure the city knows that the college is behind it, it means the world to me. Any meeting, anything, and I've met with developers, he's given us personal tours. That kind of relationship speaks volumes, and to a developer seeing a president of the college take a day off to tour the campus and talk about all the money he's investing.
Yes.
And so then instead of developers saying, well, man, if you're investing all this right next door, you're a good neighbor.
Exactly.
They are a good neighbor.
Yes.
But that relationship just needs fostered.
I would agree.
Very important to me that I meet with the president of college and other staff for different various student life and activities to make sure that we grow this hand in hand. And it's my plan for the community leaders, it's my plan for the college, it's my plan for the residents. This only works if we come together and we do this job right. But again, it only works if we do it together.
Sure. So this is actually your second time running for office, for the seat of mayor. What did you learn from the first time? And if you may share a few things here, what are you doing differently this time?
Sure. First time around, I realized that can be political climate. It's more a divided faction society than ever, and it can be polarizing just your affiliation.
Sure.
I don't think that's right, because I'm a vote for the person, vote for the plan, don't vote for the party.
I agree.
And that's why remaining independent and making that a stance and making that more public, I didn't really use that for a platform. I thought what I did and what I said, even though not much has changed, just remaining neutral as affiliation and making sure that it is very clear that this is 100% for the people of Washington is something that I've brought to the table at the front. And I've just noticed the amount of conversations have been more open and welcoming and more productive for that reason. So this time around, the stance as an independent solely for the people has been a positive thing for the campaign. And secondly, this time, I think more people are so committed to what they believe is possible for Washington. Now more than ever have people come to rally behind myself with support.
Good.
The first time it was, I know Mark, I love his businesses, best of luck, go get him. You'll be great.
Right.
We really hope you make it. This time, what do you need from me? How can I help directly?
Good.
So having a committee in our first meeting, you have 18, 20 people saying, Mark, this is our city, this is our home. You believe in us as much as we believe in you. Let's actually do this together. And I didn't have that support the first time.
Okay.
So this time, a stronger team is already leaps and bounds above where I was last time.
Awesome. Very awesome. $1 million question here, Mark. What else would you like to share with our viewers here?
So, $1 million question, and I guess this is something I believe wholeheartedly, is that I understand that the position of mayor and council is part-time, as you know.
Yes.
But my commitment to Washington is a full-time effort, my very best, and that's something that I can't say more sincerely, that we are not in a position of maintenance. We need serious growth and restoration of the city, neighborhoods, downtown, inside and out, and I just want to be a part of that change, and I'm asking for the vote of the people of Washington to make sure we get it done.
And speaking about asking for the vote, how can people get in touch with you? Whether they want to donate or volunteer, get a sign, whatever the case might be. Can they contact you via Facebook, or do you have an email, a website?
Sure.
What are the ways that people can get a hold of you?
So Mark Kennison for Washington is my Facebook handle, or even Mark Kennison personally. Feel free to reach out if we're friends on there and you just want to be involved. Mark Kennison for mayor.com is our website, which is a link to my email. So Facebook, website, email, signs are available at the President's Pub, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your ideas. I'd love to hear your vision, and any interest, please reach out, and I'd be more than happy to take the time to meet with anyone, and I'd love to hear from you.
All right. Got anything else here, sir?
Just asking for a vote. It's time.
Mark Kennison, thank you very much for your time. Always appreciate you, my brother. Thank you very much for joining us, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you. Killed it, dude.
Good, man.